it was traumatic for me to experience that at 14 years old. A lot of people get stuck on starting.
Yep.
Just do it.
Yeah, right.
You know, we talked to a lot of major networks who were interested because they were like, yo, this is a good idea. But because of the pandemic, it was like all of our budgets are closed.
Today, joining us on Necessarily Nicole, we have Miss Carmen in the building. So thank you for joining me in my podcast. So let's get right into it, Miss Thang.
Let's go.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've known you for some time now, over the years, and I just have to congratulate you. I have to give you your flowers. Here are your flowers, Miss Ma'am. Okay, like I'm so proud of you and just seeing your growth over the last 2-3 years. Like I know you usually are behind the camera.
All the way behind the camera.
Yes, and now we are front and center in a major syndicate and network. So like, let's just jump into that. What's going on? Tell me about it. Let's start from the beginning. How did we come from New York to Atlanta?
Okay.
Yeah, let's start from the beginning.
Okay, well, that's easy.
Okay.
I went to Clark Atlanta University.
Okay.
So I've been here for a very long time.
We won't say
I'm not going to say how long because I don't want y'all be counting in my age.
Just know we seasoned. It's okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I went to Clark Atlanta University. And then I guess, once you come to Atlanta,
it's hard to leave.
It's hard to leave.
It's like the Black Mecca.
Yeah.
It's hard to leave.
It changes everything.
It does.
As a New Yorker, it slows down your pace. You're a little nicer.
You say hello, right?
Okay.
And I'm from Chicago, so I feel the same way. Like
I had to get used to it, but then once I would go home, and when everybody would be, I would be like, what? Why are you so mad?
Why are you so upset?
It's okay.
I feel it. Like, are you okay?
Exactly.
Are you okay, ma'am?
So it was just like, I love New York. I'm from Brooklyn.
Okay.
That will never change.
Brooklyn all day.
I am from Brooklyn.
Period.
But we don't need the aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you come to the South, you kind of adapt to that lifestyle, and it's kind of hard to go back.
It is. And I just feel like it's just a difference in lifestyle too, because
Absolutely.
Like up north and up top, we have to deal with a lot of different things in comparison to down south. And that's one thing that I appreciate about being down south, because it's like I said, the Black Mecca, but it's like people are trying to help you survive, and not even survive, but thrive, like in whatever field that you're in. Just like with you and me, we talked about this before.
Listen,
you try to lend a helping hand.
Entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
If you're trying to get to the next step, and we know how to help you, we will. Whereas in New York, it's just a little like, it's do or die.
Basically.
And so that spirit is always with you. But once you come to some place like Atlanta, you realize that you don't have to be like that.
Exactly. You don't always have to be like fighting for your life and on survival mode.
Absolutely.
But it's just like you always kind of look over your shoulder, like, because Atlanta snakes are a little different. I'm gonna talk about that. I'm sorry, I gotta talk about it, because like people will smile on your face and be cool, but they really don't like you.
Yeah.
And that's cool, because we can still do business.
Well, everybody's trying to get to the next level. So wherever they can fit in to get in, if they can use you to get to the next level.
I don't like that.
You gotta figure out who those people are and how to weed them out or how to play the game.
Exactly.
The difference is that in New York, you may not necessarily even get to that point of the conversation.
Thank you.
Because it's all about like, whatever I gotta do. And here it feels like more community. I'll say
yeah, but like you said, like from home, who don't like you, because we ain't even playing no small talk. Like,
listen,
nah.
If somebody say hello to me on the street in New York, I'm like, oh, it's a setup. What's about to happen next?
You stay there fed, like
down here, they really might be like, how you doing?
Exactly.
Up there, if somebody say, I'll be like,
Where you come from?
What's about to happen?
Who sent you? Exactly. So, okay, so what did you study at Clark?
I went to school for radio, television, film production.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Makes sense. So that's what led you on your journey.
Yes, I grew up, in the household that I grew up in, I had cousins that were in and out that were in entertainment. I used to, go to Uptown Records.
Awesome.
And see how the music business was working. I met Biggie, Lost Boys. Like, I saw the behind the scenes of the music business. And, that was like everything to me because I was always into music. I used to dance when I was younger. So to see the behind the scenes was like, what? What are y'all doing?
Wow, yes.
And then, I used, I a whole nother story, but I had a very traumatic childhood. And what I would lose myself in was watching TV. And so I grew up listening to Angie Martinez, Wendy Williams, watching the Oprah show. And so, I guess by the time I got to college, all of those things collided.
Yes.
So it was always a toss-up between working in the music business or working in television, but it was going to be one of the two.
And you knew it, like you were destined for it. And I feel like that too, because it's like TV or music was our safe haven in the times that we grow up in, right? And if that's something in you, it was like, I gotta be a part of it.
Absolutely.
Like somehow, some way, I gotta be a part of it.
It always found me.
Yes.
It always found me.
Yes.
So, my last name is Simmons, which, so I'm from the family of Russell Simmons and Run DMC. So I watched like Crush Groove and was just like, always like somehow immersed in hip hop culture. Like I used to stand in front of the radio and you know how you make your little mixtapes and stuff. But because I also had family members that were in the business, I always got to see the behind the scenes of it. So I never wanted to be on camera or, like be the personality. I was infatuated with the people that made it happen.
And that's interesting that you bring that up because a lot of people want to be in front of the camera. Like they want to be the star of the show. And that's fine, but everybody has a role to play, right?
Right.
So some people really do feel like they're at their best when they're in behind the scenes, when they're making the TV or making the podcast or whatever the case might be. So how did you feel comfortable doing that? And how did you know that that was your niche? Like, yes, this is where I need to be. This is it.
I guess I was just more attracted to the people that were making the stars. Like when I was younger and I ran into Biggie in front of Radio City, I met him because of an A&R named Mark Pitts. Mark Pitts was a family friend. Huge. And I was just like, you are managing one of the biggest hip hop stars of our time at that time. And I was just like, how did you do that? Like, how did you know that he was gonna be as big as he was? Like, listen.
Questions that need answers.
Yeah, I was just like, how do you do this? When I would go to work to Uptown Records with my cousin, and I would see like them grooming and creating them as artists, I was infatuated with the fact that they knew how to take somebody that was just in the local hood. And make them a big ass star. Like I wanted to know what it was that they were doing behind the scenes. When he was talking to me about their style, their sound, their look, their sound, that's what was intriguing to me a little bit more than what the final product was.
Right.
And even though I used to dance, I didn't even want to be an actual dancer because he put me in class with, you know who Carrie Ann Anaba is?
Yes.
From Dancing with the Stars. Listen, my cousin threw me in a class with her when I was 15. He was like, yo, you about to be on the road when she starts doing auditions for Janet Jackson. You're going to be the youngest dancer out there.
Yes.
But I was more infatuated with the fact that she was the choreographer. So I wanted to be Debbie Allen.
Awesome. And
so,
she's amazing.
Amazing. So I didn't want to actually be the star. I wanted to be the star maker. So
I like that, like a queen maker. It makes sense. Okay, so how did people respect that decision? Because that's a lot to say, yo, I want to be behind the scenes instead of being,
back in that day, not like a realistic goal.
Right.
When
like,
I
are you crazy?
Yeah. When I was in college and I was like, my major is radio, television, film production, I would get calls from my family like, you need to be a nurse, you need to be a lawyer. And, you know, I was good at those things. Like I had, you know, in that field, you still do go to class for like communication law. You still have to use you still have to learn basic steps before you complete your bachelor's.
Right.
And I was excelling in those areas, but they were like, that's what you need to be doing. You need to go to law school. You need to get LSAT. I was like, okay, I can do that, but that's not what I want to do.
Right.
But yeah, it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle.
I feel like that.
Because nobody really understands that there are people behind the scenes that make those things happen. So I would just say things like, so were you watching TV tonight? Did you think that it just magically came on? Somebody is behind the scenes making that happen.
Exactly.
You are not watching television by magic.
Exactly. And that's a good way to look at it. But, you know, I think we come from a generation, too, where our parents only knew, okay, we didn't go to college, so you go to college. And then you get this job that you work for 40 years. And then you have your retirement.
And then you retire.
And then that's it. You have the 2 kids and 1 dog, house, blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't, I feel like.
It was just like, oh, it's too competitive. I'm like, all fields are competitive.
Thank you. I dealt with so much negativity from my family when I decided to venture off on my own, but it was just, and I did it at a crazy time. But being an Aries too, we're risk takers, so I was just like, F it. Because I just bought my first house and I quit my job. 2 months later, it was like, I'm never working corporate again. And I haven't looked back since. And it's crazy because my mom was like, how can you do this?
It's just like, not the generation that they come from. You have to go to school, get a good job, get your pension, retire, and that's how you live your life. But
that's not living. But it's okay. It was a way. Okay. It was a way for a period of time. I don't knock it. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you for all the generations that came before us. But yeah, I'm glad we found our own because we're here today.
Exactly.
And look at where you are, ma'am. So please tell me how you went from behind the scenes to in front of the camera. And now you're on Fox Soul. And like you are one of the biggest names on network television, if you ask me.
Oh,
so tell me about it.
Well, it was not a decision that I made myself.
Okay.
So my intention was to create a show that was about my media outlet because I was watching from the bird's eye view what my media correspondents were going through on their journey to be the next Wendy Williams, to be the next Oprah.
Okay.
And when I started pitching the idea for the show, people on the outside were like, ma'am, you're the glue.
Exactly.
They're not here by themselves. They're here because you brought them here. So the only way we can tell this story is if we are telling your story. And so I fought it. I'm not even gonna lie.
I know you did. I know you did.
I fought it because I was like, I did not get in this business to be on camera. It's called producer. You do not know who the producers are.
And I've worked with you with a couple other projects too, and you do not like being on camera. So when I found out you were doing the show, I was like, what, Carmen?
I'm coming through in my sweats. There is no makeup involved. You are not supposed to see me. I do not count. But when it came to actually pitching the idea of doing a show about my media outlet, they were like, so you do know that everybody is connected because of you.
Exactly.
And therefore, we're going to have to see you. I was like, what?
Exactly. Exactly. But it's your time. It's your time, love. So let's get into the subject of you switching, like you transitioning, like from you going from behind the scenes to in front of the camera. What made you do that? Because I know there was a lot of pushback. I've known you for, like I said, several years. And every time I would see you, you're like, no. When we worked on different projects, you're like, no, I do not want to be on the camera. I'm like, Carmen, you going to join me on? No, I'm not on camera.
Yes, I never intended to be on camera. Even when I was in school, my decision to really like focus on television production and not radio had to do with me not wanting to be the talent.
Wow.
Because you know, we had to do like an air check tape and like actually like go through a class to be a radio personality.
Right.
But through that process, I was like, I don't want to be talent. I want to produce talent. But because my idea was to have a show about my media personalities and what they experience going through the process of trying to be as big as a Oprah or a Wendy Williams, everybody that I was working with was like, so we can't actually produce a show about your media outlet and not show that you're the person that owns the media outlet and that these people are connected because of you.
Exactly.
And I was just like, can somebody pretend to be?
No, and you are like, the glue.
No.
Right.
So I was kind of like forced into it because that absolutely was not my intention. But because I really wanted to see this idea come into fruition, it was just like, okay, I'm just going to have to eat it and do it because there's no way to connect these girls without actually showing that it's me that's connecting them.
Yes, for sure. So I know, again, like you've been working in the media field for a long time, but like you said, behind the scenes. So now you landed this show on this major network. Can we say?
Yeah.
Okay, so Fox Soul, I'm so proud of you. Okay, so how did that happen? Like, did someone like see your show and they want to pick it up? Like, how did that happen? What did you say? Who was the first person you called? Like, Mama, we made it. We finally got a show. Like, what happened?
So, okay, so I'm a producer. So I was partners with a major music studio here called Hot Beats.
Okay.
And part of rebranding Hot Beats and bringing it into the mainstream was, you know, I got to fall back into what I actually know, which is producing. So I was like, okay, not only are we going to reopen Hot Beats, but we're going to do a show about it. So I was producing a show about Hot Beats.
Okay.
And listen, it was the layup. Like the major players that came out of Hot Beats are like Drake and Lil Wayne and like that whole like. There are a long list of people that came out of Hot Beats. Yeah. So I was in the process of pitching Hot Beats and talking to all these major networks. And a friend of mine who was like, yo, I really believe in this idea. She sent a major player, which is James DeBose, to us and was like, I think you should take a look at this because I think you could take it to the next level. Wow. So James came to Atlanta and he got on board with Hot Beats. And so we were going through the process of that. And then just one day when the Humble, we were talking, we were having a meeting. It was me, James, myself, and my partner, Arturo Ayers. And we were having a meeting and I was just like, yo, let me show you something. And at that time, it was just a little like reel I put together of all of these like funny blooper moments of my team at InStyle Atlanta.
That's dope.
And when I showed it to him, he was like, yo, this is what you need to be focusing on. Like, we got Hot Beats, but we need to be focusing on this. Like, focus on this. And he was about to leave Atlanta and go to LA because he was launching Fox Soul. Okay. He was the general manager of Fox Soul. He created the idea of Fox Soul. So he was like, yo, focus on this because I want to bring this to TV. Like, this is what you need to be doing. So from then on, my focus was nstyleatlantauncut. Uncut. And then, you know, we went through the whole pandemic.
Right.
You know, we talked to a lot of major networks who were interested because they were like, yo, this is a good idea. But because of the pandemic, it was like all of our budgets are closed. Like even the shows that we have on TV, we are not sure what's going to happen next. So it was like, damn, okay, we invested all this time and money into developing the sizzle and promo for this show, but now we're in like a worldwide pandemic. What do we do? So we was like, okay, let's take the footage that we have and put it out. So we put it out and we got a good response. We got a really cool viewership. And then we just circled back and then he was like, yo, I'm put out a pilot on Fox Soul. Let's see what happens. We put the pilot out and I mean, this is like between all of this started between 2019 and like 2020. Yeah. And we put it out. he eventually put the pilot out, and then a couple months later, he was like, okay, can you give me a season? And we were like, hell yeah. So
yes,
we turned to the season, and that's how it went. So I have to give much respect and thanks to James DeBose at Fox Soul. He was the general manager at the time. He's not anymore, but he is definitely the first person who looked at it and was like, this needs to be your focus. Like,
that's amazing.
This is it right here.
That is amazing. And that's why I strongly believe like it's sometimes more about like your favor and, you know, who can help you get in the door. Because sometimes it's about the right people and knowing the right people, because those connections can take you further than anything.
Absolutely.
So that is amazing. And again, I'm so proud of you, because literally, like you said, it was transpiring during COVID in the midst of a pandemic and everything else. And then look how it took off.
It was stressful because we did talk to other networks who were like, okay, we like this idea, but we are in such a state of emergency. Like, we don't even know what to do with the stuff that's already on TV.
Exactly.
And then, you know, of course, we met some of our, like, barriers that were like, okay, for some reason in our culture, when it comes to Black people on television, they do expect something different.
They do.
And so we did have those conversations where it was like, you know, are y'all fighting? Are y'all throwing drinks at each other? Like,
exactly.
Like, are we getting to it?
Exactly.
But I was like, listen, of course there's natural drama. There are things that happens. We are an independent business.
Exactly.
This is a group of women. Of course there's gonna be drama, but we not fighting. Like, ain't nobody throwing fists at each other. Like, this is a respectable business.
Period.
And so, like, because we wouldn't bend on that, because of course we could produce that, but why do we always have to produce that?
And that was going to be my next question, because I was going to ask you, like, how is it to work with quite a large group of women? And then not only that, because I've watched the season, I don't really see a lot of throwing drinks, we're fighting, all of that. You still keep your composure and respect for another person. So how did you come to that decision?
Well, I mean, I think that it just comes naturally, because fortunately for me, my team does try to keep a level of respect, I think, because of their respect for me. You know, like, we come from all different walks of life.
Right.
Trust me, the people on my team, if they need to whoop somebody's ass, they're gonna get to it.
Yeah.
There are some people on my team that I have literally known since they were teenagers.
Wow.
And I've actually seen them in fights.
Wow.
But because that's not how I carry myself, and I think they try to respect the fact that that's not how I get down. When certain things happen, they try to keep a level of respect.
Yeah.
Even though it does get heated, because we talking about a whole group of women. There's like 6 people on my team, excluding myself, which makes 7.
Yeah.
That some of them do have a long history of friendship with each other. And like I said, some of them I do know outside of us working together.
Right.
But I think, fortunately for me, they do try to keep a level of respect where they won't actually come to blows on camera, even though it has gotten close, because they are actually friends.
Okay.
And so that is why we don't cross that line, even though we do know in our genre that people are expecting that, they won't do it. And I do thank them for that, because I feel like we need to portray us in real life situations, but everybody's life is not having a fight and tossing on the ground. Like that's not everybody's life. That hasn't been my life.
Right.
I don't have to fight none of them.
Right.
Now listen, if you come to me crazy,
you will. I'm sure you will.
I will get you together.
Exactly.
I am from Brooklyn.
Exactly.
But I do know how to do it in a manner of, we don't have to actually fight.
Right.
And I don't think that's always necessary.
Right.
And because they've been working with me for so long, I think that they understand that it don't have to get to that. Even though I do know that they're capable of that.
Exactly. We're going to keep it cute. We're going to keep it cute.
We're going to keep it cute.
So who would be your top 3 pick for this season?
For this season?
Yes.
Okay, so for this season, my top are Jordan Martin.
Okay.
She's a newbie, and you haven't really seen much of her yet.
Okay.
But she is a force to be reckoned with.
Period.
We worked together
Jordan.
on other projects. And when she told me that she wanted to get into the media space, when I told her, okay, let's go. And I pushed that button, she has not been playing.
I know that's right.
Okay. She is really doing a lot of really good interviews for Insta Atlanta, as well as spaces outside of that. She's the associate producer for Frank Ski. And so she has really been proving herself and very quickly.
Okay.
So even though you haven't seen much of her yet, she is not here to play.
We rooting for you, Jordan.
She is not here to play.
Okay.
And then of course there is my OG who has started with me. Her name is Jet Black.
Okay.
And most people know her in the city of Atlanta because she is
heard of her.
She's a staple in Atlanta. A lot of people know Jet Black. She has a lot of personality, a lot of attitude. And she's like a people's favorite.
Yeah.
She's definitely a people's favorite.
People's choice.
And then,
last but not least,
I'm going to say it's a toss-up.
Okay.
There's a couple of people that I feel like you need to keep your eye on.
Okay.
So there's Sky, who is, again, she's an OG. She's been with me from the very beginning. But then you have CJ, who was newly introduced to the scene on season 1.
Okay.
And she is Jet Black's bestie.
Interesting.
But she comes from another outlet, which was Boss Up.
Oh.
And so you see a little drama between them, even though they were besties.
It's still a little.
It's like something happened. Something.
So are we gonna get into that?
We're gonna get into it
because I want to see the drama. I'm not gonna hold you. I want to see the drama. Okay. Okay. So can we expect another season coming up?
Yes. So we're an independent production. So the production company is Invisible Inc.
Okay.
And we are independent. We have not partnered with any other production companies or the major networks. Okay. So we are working on season 2. We're actually about to launch a Kickstarter.
Oh.
Yes, because listen, these things cost.
Yes, ma'am.
These things cost.
Yes, they do.
So we are asking for everybody that is fans of Style Atlanta Uncut to tap in on that Kickstarter and support the project because we want to remain independent. What happens is we sell to a major network. The major networks takes their cut, but not only do they do that, but they take a part in basically running the show. Yeah. Which means that some of the cast may disappear. Yeah. Some of our leadership and control over the show may disappear. Exactly. And now it becomes their show instead of the vision that we started with. Right. So we're trying to keep it independent, but in order to keep it independent, we need somebody. We need some help kickstarting this next season.
Yes. So so with that being said, when is the Kickstarter going to be available for people to?
It starts this Friday.
Okay, this Friday, y'all.
So just go to Kickstarter, look for Style Atlanta Uncut, and support it. Listen, $1, $5, $20, $100, whatever you can contribute.
Whatever, it will help.
It will help.
Trust me, I know it will definitely help. Yes, and I'm here to support. I'm gonna put in my little 2 cents too, girl, because I'm so proud of you. Again, I've seen your growth. I've seen how much you've helped not only like people in the community, but you even helped me. I don't know. Once upon a time, I called Carmen not too long ago. Like, Carmen, yo, I gotta talk to you. She was like, girl, what? And I would not tell her what it was.
Secret squirrel.
It was a big secret. I was like, I cannot tell you what it is, but I think you can help me and give me some direction. And she was like, I'm nervous because I did not want to share my baby with anybody, but it's the show.
And I am so proud of you.
Thank
I really,
you.
really am.
Thank you.
It's all about like mustering up the confidence in yourself and just doing it. A lot of people get stuck on starting.
Yep.
Just do it.
Yes.
It's not going to be perfect the first day out the gate.
Exactly.
You have to learn from everything that you do.
Yes.
So you got to do it first.
Exactly. And I think all my team knows who they are, because if it was not for them, like, there are days where I'm like, I'm not filming. They're like, you better get your butt up. Like, we're doing it regardless if you want to or not. I'm like, this didn't go right. They're like, get up. Like, and sometimes that's all you need.
Because we learn from our mistakes, but we can't be afraid to make those mistakes.
Exactly.
That's the only way that we're going to improve.
Exactly. And that's a good point that you said. So what would you tell somebody who is trying to get into this field but don't know where to start, feel like they're not ready, want a little extra before they start? Like, what would you tell somebody?
Well, basically, you have to do your research and know the business.
Yes.
Because it's very important to know the business that you're about to get into.
Exactly.
That way you can protect yourself from all the wolves in sheep's clothing that are going to pounce on you and try to make you do something that you really shouldn't be doing. So
Facts.
Know the business that you want to get into and then just do it.
Yeah.
As much as it feels like scary to get started, the only way that you're going to get into it is if you actually get started.
Just do it.
Don't be afraid to bump into all of the hurdles that might come because you're going to learn from those things. I didn't know every single aspect of the business when I got started, but what I do understand is that I got to get started.
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. You're going to meet people along the way that may help you and people that may be against you and try to hurt you. True. But you're not going to understand what those things are until you actually get started.
True.
So the most important part is to know the business so that you know the foundation, but you're not really going to know what to do next until you get started.
You got to do it. You just got to do it. Yeah. Like, you got to do it.
You can spend years plotting on what you're going to do and then never freaking do it.
Never.
You got to get in the business.
I like that. That's some good advice. I appreciate that. So tell me, is there anything else going on? Any new projects we can look forward to from Miss Carmen? Like, what's going on?
So every day and all day is always in style and uncut. But of course, I have my personal projects. So I come from a background of, I lost my parents when I was really young. My mom died when I was 14. My father died when I was 15, both to AIDS. Wow. My father was an addict. So there's a whole story behind that.
I wish we would have got on that. Damn, okay.
And pretty much
that would have been good, but it's okay. But you may not want to talk about it, but it's okay.
Well, it's been a hard thing to talk about. Yeah. But pretty much my whole life, because I do come from, like sharing my stories through writing and storytelling, from high school to college to everything that came after that. It has always been like, you need to share your story. Somebody needs to hear that. Somebody needs to understand your experience to get through theirs.
Yes.
So I'm finally going to release a book. So today just so happens to be AIDS Awareness Day and aging.
Wow.
Yeah, it just so happens to be AIDS Awareness and Aging Day. Wow. And so that is significant for me because my mom died when she was 42.
Wow.
And she did not get to get that old. Like, like she didn't get to experience raising her children and actually aging despite that she had this disease.
Yes.
My father neither.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is share my story because there are children that experience losing family members from the AIDS epidemic. My parents died in the 90s. That was a time when people weren't really compassionate or understood the disease.
Right.
And I mean, that was when my mom passed and my father passed was around the same time that like people like Magic Johnson had just came out. Nobody really understood it.
Nobody.
So it was a very traumatic experience for us, but not only because we lost our parents, but because the people around us didn't understand what to do with that information.
Right. Didn't know how to digest it, didn't know how to deal with it.
Not at all.
We didn't really have the right medicine during that time.
There wasn't enough medicine, or you couldn't afford it.
Exactly, because the medicine was crazy.
Listen, I was on a trip. I was working with my partner, Arturo Ayers, who has a working relationship with Rodney Jerkins. We were going on a trip to work with an artist, a group that he was working with. And on our flight was Cookie Johnson. We get off the flight, and Rodney is talking to Cookie. And when he introduced us, I was like stuck on stupid, because all I could think to myself was, Magic announced that he had HIV around the same time that my parents had it.
Exactly.
And he is here today.
Exactly.
You are here today.
Exactly.
Still his wife.
Exactly.
We don't even know what her situation was, but we do know that they obviously had the money and the access to the medication that has him here today.
Exactly. I don't even think he has it anymore, honestly.
It's undetectable. And so all I could think to myself was, I think that I knew that my mother was infected for maybe about a year, and then she was gone.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow.
And he's here today, and she's here today. So I was like stuck on stupid.
Does that make you upset? Because when it boils down to it, it does boil down to money.
It boils
literally
down to money.
Because that's what is basically essentially keeping him alive. If we think about it, because he has access to the medicine and the doctors.
He has access to the money and the doctors that were necessary to keep him alive.
Yeah.
That my parents weren't.
Yeah.
They didn't have access to. So I am happy for the progression that we have in today's time, because there are many people that are still here with HIV and AIDS, but it was traumatic for me to experience that at 14 years old.
Exactly.
And so I'm finally going to put that on paper.
I'm so proud of you.
That.
And that's a lot. That's heavy.
Oh, it was a lot.
But you don't understand how much of a blessing you probably are to somebody else. And I know that's a lot for you, love. So how did you come up with the title? Like, that's a big one for most authors.
So right now it's Finding My Way. The book is not available yet.
Not yet.
But it's right now it's Finding My Way. And that is because it also has to do with the fact that I went to Clark Atlanta.
Okay.
And the motto for Clark Atlanta is I'll find a way or make one.
I like that.
And so I feel like ever since that moment, I've been trying to find my way. And that's how I've been living my life, is that everything that I was trying to do, there wasn't like an open door of access to it. I had to figure it out. My parents died when I was young. I knew that my mother had a college degree. She was a manager for the congressman in New York.
Wow.
I knew that her expectations of me was going to college, finding a good job. Back in that day, it was finding a good job so that you could retire and do all of that. So that was kind of the path that I tried to stay on, because I knew that that's what their expectations was.
Exactly.
But at the time, it was like, how am I going to do this? Right?
Exactly.
So I had to find my way to college, which led to a whole bunch of student loans. But I found my way there.
Right.
And then when I was in college and I was upon graduation, it was like, okay, at that time, even though I was a mass media graduate, in Atlanta, the big thing was you got to go work for Turner. If you didn't intern at Turner and you didn't get a job there, it was like, what you going to do?
Exactly.
So when I graduated and I didn't have the internship at Turner, I actually interned at Def Jam South, which
still good.
It's still good. It's my affiliation to music and entertainment.
Exactly.
But that was not what my degree was in. So it was like, okay, what
what are we doing?
What am I going to do?
Yes.
I found my way to community television. I started producing the show independently.
I know that's
right. And ever since then, I just been like, finding my way.
That's it.
So
I love it. That was perfect.
The I'll find my way or I'll find a way to make one motto has literally been the motto for my life. And so that's the title for the book.
I love it. I love it. So can you do me a favor? And just for the fans out there and supporters, can you just read me like a little excerpt before you leave? Because you already got me like, I cry. I'm a crybaby. So you already got me in tears, but I feel like this is amazing.
Okay.
And again, Carmen, you touching me right now. I know everybody out here feels exactly how I feel. So the floor is yours. I want to hear this.
Okay. So it starts in 1993, which is when my mother first got sick. It was not a discussion. It was like you just saw her physical transformation. Like she went from maybe being like, let's say 160 pounds to like maybe like 115. Wow. And it was like overnight. So there was never like a discussion like something's wrong. You could just physically see it. So it was a typical hot New York day in late July. The hot air seemed to consume the house ever since summer began. I was laying uncomfortably in the bottom bunk of the bedroom that I shared with my younger sister, tossing and turning, irritated by the sun piercing through the shutters and listening to Arrested Development's Everyday People blaring from the neighborhood house across the street, trying to decide whether or not I should get up or continue to lay there motionless as possible to avoid feeling the hot sheets underneath that were wet from the sweat dripping from my body. I was just laying there listening. Honestly, it was too damn hot to think. My attention on the music was interrupted when I heard the ground floor's gate door close, slam, and lock. I instantly became highly aware of each sound that came next. It was like the world suddenly stopped. Panicked, I just jumped out of the bed, leaping towards the windows, slamming open the hot wooden shutters to watch my mother close the sidewalk gate and head down the block toward an awaiting cab. "Where's she going?" I yelled out worriedly, not to anyone in particular. Finally, after hollering a few more times, my grandmother yelled down from the third floor, "She's just going for a checkup. She'll be right back." I couldn't move, eyes welled with tears, watching my mother get in the cab and ride away, knowing I'd never see her again.
Whoa. Wow.
So it was just like, I don't know, for some reason.
Is that the introduction?
Yeah.
Woo!
For some reason.
That's a way to write a book.
I always like had this like weird intuition about her not returning. Like from as young as like, I don't know, like kindergarten. Wow. I was always kind of like worried about her.
Yeah.
And so on that day, when she left to get in that cab, I knew that I wasn't going to see her again.
That's heavy, Carmen.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, I cannot wait to read it, but it's super heavy. And the fact that you had to just go through that at such a young age. But honestly, the younger, I feel like we are connected to a higher spirit. And I'm just going to say, I believe in God. So, like, I feel like I'm connected in some certain ways. Like, I sense certain things.
Yeah.
So it's just like the fact that you already sense that, that's heavy.
Yeah.
And I don't even have the words. I'm at loss for words for that, because to know that you will never see her again.
It only took like 7 days. And the whole week I had anxiety because I knew she wasn't coming back. But to to like accept it was really hard. So I just wouldn't.
And you know, we don't talk about it in the Black community or our families. We don't. Especially back then, we did not talk about things.
No. So even though there was opportunity to go see her, it was just like, I can't, because you're accepting that this is going to be it.
Right.
She's supposed to be just going for a checkup.
Right.
She did not come home from a checkup. But I knew that when I heard that gate door slam. And I was just like, I don't know how I knew, but I just knew that was it.
Well, without giving too much away, because again, this is going to fly off the shelves. Not that we're selling it, but this is healing for others. I'm telling you, you think this is for yourself, but this is going to help so many other people. I can feel it. Like, this just gave me chills, and I'm not even joking.
It took a long time for me to get to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about it, because that journey was the subject of every single essay that I had to write in high school, of every single paper I had to write in college. And I always had a teacher come to me, or like other people in the school that they passed it to would find me, like people that I didn't know would find me and say, like, you have to write about this.
You have to.
But it just, I just couldn't.
I get it, but now is your time, and I'm glad that you are here, because again, you're going to open up so many doors for people and open up so much healing for people, and even for yourself. Like, it's going to heal you in ways you don't even understand or know yet, because so many people are going to come to you with this testimony that they have, and like, finally someone with the same exact story or a similar story has the courage to talk about it. Because I feel like we went through that epidemic in the 90s, 2000s, but now we don't even hear about it no more.
It took me years to even say it.
But it affected an entire generation. But we don't even hear about it anymore. It's crazy to me. So I feel like, and a lot of, again, I'm giving away my age, but a lot of us went through that, and we saw our friends and family go through that, and our friends' parents or our parents go through that. It was heavy.
When I was in high school, I became like the go-to student counselor for everybody that was losing a family member or a parent. And it was, listen, I absolutely did not, at the time, I was like, what?
Why are y'all coming to me?
Right. It was like every time somebody would lose their parent or a family member, because I was a peer mediator, I was on the student council, but all of those things were devices for me to try to cope and not have to go home, because going home was about dealing with my reality.
It's okay.
But because I was trying to avoid my reality, all the student counselors were like, you can help this student. And so everybody was coming to me all the time. It was just like, but I realized that because I had this experience and was somehow managing through it, I was able to help everybody else that was getting ready to go through it. But it was still an unspoken truth. Like, nobody really wanted to talk about what was really going on.
Right.
But a couple of years ago, when I was on that plane and we got off and Rodney introduced me to Cookie, I was literally stuck on stupid, because I was just like,
how?
You are really standing here in front of me, and your husband announced in the 90s that he had HIV, and both of my parents died.
Exactly.
He's still here. And you are standing here. Y'all survived.
Healthy, living, thriving.
Like it never happened.
We're going to talk about it. We're going to have a part 2 because you got to come back. You got to come back. And thank you for spending this time with me and sharing your story, especially intimate part of your life journey. I appreciate you. And again, I'm so proud of you, Miss Carmen.
Thank you. I'm proud of you.
So proud of you. And thank you for sitting with Necessarily Nicole. Until next time, my friend, I love you and thank you. Be blessed on your journey, girl. Yes. Thank you. All right, y'all. We good? All right. Give me some
Now I got a game plan, and I'm out here with the 700 3i5s. Look alive. Niggas came up on this side, now they on the other side. Oh well, fuck them, dawg. We gon' see how hard they ride. I get racks to go outside, and I split it with them.